Not online yet. We good?
Yeah. Yeah, we're live right now.
Oh, we are? All right. Well, welcome. JD Rants episode 6. I'm not seeing it on my screen here, but I must be just running slow. So thank you guys for joining us today. I'm about to post this in the Discord. I'm here with my guy, Jake the Snake from Snake Sports Talk. His description is in the comments below. Thanks for joining me, Jake. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate this.
Hell yeah! I mean, we got a ton to jump into, a lot to jump into. I'm about to just post that on Discord for the homies. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff. We're going to talk the Chargers, Adam Silver, and Trump. That literally just dropped like 5 minutes before we went live. So that's what we got to talk about. And I got to get your take on the Chargers. That's definitely got to happen 100%. All right, there it is. It's on the Discord, and come on now, general gaming. There we go. Get in here, guys. All right, we're gonna start. So, the thing I got to start out talking about, and I definitely want your comments on too, but I got to start talking about because I'm a Bears fan and this is a Bears fans show. Is I got to point out this nonsense. Friends at Fansided, my friend. Like, Jake, I got friends at Fansided. Like, I know a bunch of these writers. They're really smart people, a lot of them. But this right here is the most ridiculously stupid thing that I've ever seen. Just read the headline and you tell me, or I guess, like, time to bring back Jay Cutler for QB competition. What is your first thoughts for that, Jake?
Oh, man. I honestly, look, I mean, we've seen the years of Jay Cutler since he's been in the league, and the second he finished up with the Miami Dolphins. But to bring him back for quarterback competition, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, in my opinion, he's a subpar quarterback. You know, he's the type of guy that, like, if he gets on, he gets on, and if he's off, then worst comes to show for the Bears, and especially with how they've favored for the last couple of years. This is just I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like this idea of having to bring him in like this. Oh. Can I hear you, JD?
Sorry, I went muted for a second. My bad. I don't know why that happened. I think I bumped my off button over here. But what I was going to say is I don't like the title, and the more I read it, the more I hate it. So it says, if Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles are going to compete for a starting role as quarterback in Week 1, why not bring in a familiar face who might still be able to play? The Chicago Bears need to explore all options, one of those being Jay Cutler.
Oh, God.
Let's say Cutler wins the starting job in camp, learns Matt Nagy's offense. Wouldn't that be a good story? Kurt Warner found a lot of success later in his career. Yeah, because Jay Cutler is Kurt Warner. Same as John Elway. Right. Oh, my God. Pat84, welcome, buddy. We got to do some trivia again. You got to see if you can catch up to Triet. But thanks for coming. Bro, what do you think? They're comparing. My dude just compared Jay Cutler to John Elway and Kurt Warner.
Oh my God. I you know what? Like, I'm getting to the point right now, like, because I think all of us, maybe not only just as sports guy, like just as sports talk guys, but even for like fans in general, we have a tendency, and sometimes, I hold myself accountable, where we use the term quote unquote recency bias on almost anything. And I think with Jay Cutler in this position, here's the funny thing, because this is now the second most ridiculous player comp that I've heard out of talking about Joe Burrow going into the draft, with comparing him to Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana.
I look into his eyes and I see Peyton Manning.
Right. Yeah. And I even look into his feet and he's got Joe Montana. Like, the hell? Like, I just think sometimes all of our, because I feel like we're all optometrists apparently. Like we all just like see quarterbacks and we see spitting images. First
Either
of all,
that or psychologist.
So here's what you can already kind of distinguish between these three quarterbacks altogether. John Elway and Kurt Warner won a Super Bowl. John's got 2. Jay Cutler hasn't even gone to a Pro Bowl. He hasn't even gone to a Pro Bowl in his entire career. And you're going to compare him to Kurt Warner and John Elway? Come on. Come on. Let's be real. Let's be reasonable. Like, wow.
Pat 1984 is talking about trivia, and he says that Leafs knows he's the best at trivia. So I like that. I like that confidence, Pat. Next time I have trivia, this is gonna be fun, man. This is gonna be fun. The rivalry is brewing. I like the drama. I really do. But yes, dude, I'm with you. You know, these player comps. Everyone thinks they're an optometrist or they're a psychologist. They think that they can just dissect these players like, oh, I know what's really going on behind it. No, dude, you don't. Yeah. And also, this is what I'll say. As a Bears fan, wearing a Bears jersey, been a Bears fan since I was like, I've been a hardcore Bears fan since I was about 11. I knew like every player on the team since I was about 11 years old. So like about 15, 16 years at least. Fuck Jay Cutler. Fuck him. He took the money. And he sucked. He did nothing. But anyway, yeah, you guys should check out, if you haven't already, check out Jake the Snake. His link is in the description below. He has really awesome content and he goes live as well. But yeah, he's Jay Cutler. Fuck him, man. I'm not into that. This is the most ridiculous article. I read it and I'm just like, oh, I got to talk about this. This is the most ridiculous thing I've read in like a year. And
here's the thing. Let me ask you this, because I'll be totally honest. When you were there watching, you know, the NFL draft, that year that Mitch Trubisky was taken number 2, give me like at least some thought on this, because were you not like excited about bringing Trubisky in? I will say this to kind of help defend you guys, that you needed a quarterback. The Bears needed a quarterback, because how long were you going to deal with Jake Cutler? For how long were you going to deal with disappointment?
That's he was already gone.
Yeah, and that was where I think Trubisky coming in was going to help to like re-energize and juice the position. Team. Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing. And I feel you. And a lot of people thought that too. But here's my problem with it, and here's the problem that I had at the moment. And I didn't have a YouTube channel back then. I didn't like react to things back then about the Bears like I do now. Like I reacted to the Jordan Howard trade, and that was one of the most popular videos because I was fucking pissed. And one of the things is like I was really mad. I was like, bro, really? Are you serious? But Mitchell Trubisky, I can tell you where I was. There's like a few moments in my life where I can tell you where I was, what I was doing, and what I was saying and thinking at the time. And this is one of those moments. I was at B-dubs with my friends. We were watching the draft. I had fries in my hand, and I was watching intently. The Bears, they're about to go. It's really early in the draft. We're about to go. Hey, what's up, Karam? Welcome. Pat says, let's see. Start blaming his Wi-Fi, taking the L. Bro, I can't wait to see that. Pat is talking. He's smoking, bro. He's talking about, he's like, I'm going to smoke this kid at trivia, and I want to see it. I can't wait. Fist bump. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, yes, I was there at B-dubs. I had a handful of fries in my hand, and I was just saying, Deshaun Watson. I was sitting next to my friend. I was like, Deshaun Watson. And then there's like 2 moments of devastation, 1 and 2 back to back. First moment, punch in the gut. Mitchell Trubisky. The guy only started 1 year, really. Second punch. The Bears traded up 2 picks to get him and stuff like that. And we lost another pick for next year. Another double punch. It was like a double punch. It was horrible, man. So, yeah, you asked me about that moment. Oh, God, that was a bad moment. Yeah, Karam says you told me about this. Karam, yeah, he's been in my channels enough to hear this story before. It was a double punch. Yes.
Double whammy, unfortunately.
And then I tried, and then the thing is, the worst part the Bears do to you, and this is, I made a video called Bears Are Insane. This is what I talk about. The worst part the Bears do to you is they build you up with hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, Trubisky, no, he's really good, man. He's going to be good, all this stuff. But I'm not going to talk all the way about the Bears today. We're going to get into the Chargers. We're going to get into the NBA, but
yeah.
not Jay Cutler.
But I do, but yeah, like I do feel you on that. Like, and that's where I think it kind of sums up the NFC North as a whole. Because yeah, like you do make a great point. The Bears kind of build that hope, and then all of a sudden, it just like kind of just like not destroys your dignity, but like your hope that the team's going to get better. And then all of a sudden, you got the Packers. Then
They
you got the
crush your
Vikings.
soul.
Yeah, and then look, you could care less about how Detroit is because Detroit's been looking for hope for 40 years of their franchise, and they still can't find that. And so, yeah, I feel it in your guys' division and just how that's ran.
Yeah, it's because that's the thing. They go to the playoffs every like 5 or 6 years and make a really big run and stuff, and then they get you all excited, and then they just crush your soul. That's the Bear. That's what being a Bears fan is. They get you real excited. It's like a Panthers fan. Like they've done it like 3 times. Like, oh, we're almost there. We can touch the prop. Nope, not anymore. So it's awful.
Oh,
but
yeah.
yes, I wanted to announce this too when everyone's in chat. This is the last JD Rants episode on JD Rants 2. We will be going back to the main channel. I'm getting my live streaming back tomorrow morning. So next episode, next time you see Jake on this channel, will be on the main channel. It'll be fun. But yeah, man. Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to Jake's channel, it is in the description below. Let's see. He said, I saw Jake before on Spotlight Sports. You're making a name for yourself, Jake. You're making the rounds.
Look at that.
He said, that was the last time I was here. If Karam knows you, then you must be good people. He said, the last time I was here, I own my own business, so I was a busy husband, dad, and business owner. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm done saying what's up. Oh, man. Like, yeah, this COVID, man, it's crushing people. And we're going to talk about that actually in a little bit. It's crushing people. Actually, we're going to talk about the economy legitimately in a second. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And I'm sorry to hear about that, Pat. Hopefully it bounces right back for you whenever things start to take up again, which I'm sure they will. Things always do. We've been, fuck COVID. That is correct. We've been okay. Just like everybody, we have, certain things that we got to do differently. But yeah, that's crappy. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Pat. And hopefully, again, you bounce back and everything. Keep my hometown Brooklyn. Anyway, I wanted to ask Jake about the Chargers. So first we'll talk about. I wanted to hear your raw thoughts before we got into. You've been working hard, huh, Pat? That's dang. Okay, you're one of those essential workers. We need people like you out there. God bless Pat for that.
Yeah, I feel you, Pat. I'm out there too. We're doing well. As Vegas is pretty much like shut down for another 30 days, and thank God, I'm still enlisted as a essential worker. Just been working on customer pools, but we're doing what we can to kind of provide assurance for a lot of people. Landscapers, hey, there you go. See,
when this blows over, bro,
we're both on the same. Yeah, we're on the same page with this, man. Because I've got landscapers now. Like our company literally just shut down our construction side, and so now all we got is it's hard to get landscapers now. But pool sites, we've still been kept busy, and just trying to give people just the benefit here, knowing that they're getting taken
real
care
essential. For sure. Yeah. I mean, absolutely, bro. Well, I mean, yeah, God bless you for still doing your work, especially in wait, are you over? No, you're in Charlotte. Okay. Thank God you're not in Brooklyn right now. That's the worst place to be, for real. And I'm not trying to if you are in Brooklyn, man, God bless you. Stay safe. But man, that's the worst place to be. Anyways, so I wanted to get your raw thoughts before we dive into any articles about the Chargers, which we don't necessarily have to if you know. But anyway, I just wanted to get your raw thoughts on Anthony Lynn and the job he's done so far. Would you want to see him replaced? Just take over that.
So here's where I think a lot of the fans have to pretty much hear me out on this, because look, I think I'm kind of looking to my left, looking to my right, and I'm trying to see any other Charger fans that can back me up on this. And unfortunately, I feel like I am like that orphan child who, is the only one that will still rep a team that right now doesn't have a fan base, doesn't really truly have a home until SoFi Stadium is completely built. But to me, with the Chargers, the Chargers are really not that far behind about potentially being a championship winning team. This team, yes, they did go 5-11 this past year. And Anthony Lynn, what people don't understand is that we haven't really got deeper into the type of coach that Anthony Lynn is, because you have to think of the team that went 9-7, and then the team then goes 12-4, and then goes 5-11. So the one question that we want to ask is, can Anthony Lynn rebound back and get the Chargers back to where they need to be? Well, if you have to think about it, the Chargers made an awful lot of great moves. They made an awful lot of great moves come to free agency, that the only position that they need to solidify is quarterback, which we'll talk later. But, this team is not far behind. And I have a feeling that the Chargers can turn this around. And of course, cool. Yes, but that's what we addressed. That's what the Chargers addressed. They got the left tackle with Brian Bulaga, and they ended up getting Trey Turner in that guard, which the guard was very much needed, because that was what hurt the Chargers last season, and even hurt Phillip Rivers to then cause him to leave to go to Indianapolis. But in this particular situation, Anthony Lynn's a very good coach. He's motivating. He's very upfront with everybody in the locker room. And you have to think about this. And me as a Charger fan, the last thing I want to relive when the next season comes up and then when it ends is reliving 2012. That was a year that Peyton Manning goes to Denver, and then everybody on the Chargers defensively and offensively jumps ship to go and join either Denver. Some of them go to the Raiders, to the Chiefs, or they go to these winning teams. So that's the last thing that I want to happen come the next season. Because next season, here's what's going to happen. You got Joey Bosa and you got Keenan Allen, who are free agents. And so the Chargers have to be in a position to win right now. Win right now before that happens, and then you can start to reconfigure and figure out who are you going to pay more money to, Keenan Allen or Joey Bosa.
Yeah, how do you feel about that is a huge decision to make, definitely. I would probably go with Bosa myself. How would you feel that? And Karam mentioned that Melvin Gordon joined the Broncos. How did you feel about that trade too?
So to me, I was not I wasn't at all worried when Melvin Gordon ended up joining the Broncos, because let's be honest, Melvin Gordon sat out till week 5 of the season last year. And here's what's the difference. So you take the contract that the Broncos gave Melvin Gordon, 2 years, $16 million with an $8 million a year guarantee. The Chargers were willing to pay him 10. So you held out for 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden you go and take a deal that's $2 million less. Like, it makes no sense. Makes absolute no sense. And here's the thing. I hope that Melvin Gordon does well in Denver, because last year, here was the knock. Last year, we were a lot of drop balls from screen plays. And that's why I think Eckler was perfect for that. He was a guy that can run, that can catch, and he's very efficient. But getting back to Joey Bosa is, yes, absolutely, because there were rumors. I think this happened like maybe a month and a half ago about Joey Bosa, and we've seen this with Derek Watt. Derek Watt is now in Pittsburgh with his brother TJ Watt, and there have been rumors about Joey Bosa possibly teaming up with Nick Bosa in San Francisco, wanting to go and play with his younger brother. And that's where I think Joey Bosa, to me, is a guy that I would sign long term. I would sign long term because, look, I love Keenan Allen, but you have to think of two of like this draft. Wide receivers and running backs do come and go. Like that's just the truth. The ones that will stay the longest are your head coach, your offensive line, and your franchise quarterback. Those are the only ones that stay long term.
And the guys that win championships are like pass rushers, quarterbacks, the offensive line. Like, those are the ones that are the key pieces, in my opinion, to win championships. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And he said, "Fuck the Chargers," but he's cool. Go Cowboys.
Oh God, come on! Chargers and Cowboys are pretty much in the same boat. Come on now.
Yeah, they're both like, they kind of are like talent-wise. They both have talented pieces on both sides of the ball. They just got to put it together. That's all. How do you? Yeah. I guess my second question for that one, my second question for the Chargers would be: do you think that, let's say, okay, if I'm the Chargers, I've thought about this already. I thought about this a little bit already. If I'm the Chargers, I have full faith in Tyrod Taylor. I am not interested in starting. I don't care who I get. Unless Tua comes in there, unless they get Tua or something, or Justin Herbert or whoever, unless one of the rookie quarterbacks comes in there and he just starts just dominating, not like Baker Mayfield, even more, like just completely better. Otherwise, I'm sticking with Tyrod Taylor, and I'm going to see how far I can take this thing. And if I can't take it very far, then I have my answer, and Tyrod Taylor is clearly the backup. But I mean, I'm not like, obviously, I'm not trying to like say he should be a starter, but like, how far do you think that he can go?
Well, I'll tell you this, because there are two quarterbacks that I can really, since we were talking about player comps earlier about Jay Cutler, these are the two player comps that I can think of with Tyrod Taylor: Jacoby Brissett and Alex Smith. Those are two player comps right there. Because if you think of what all three of them do have in common, these are quarterbacks that will win you games when need be. In Tyrod Taylor's position, I don't see Tyrod potentially bringing the Chargers to the playoffs. Like, this is just honest opinion. When I look at the statistics of Tyrod Taylor, the one
wild card.
Yeah, I think a wild card could potentially be like, you have to think of Tyrod when he was with the Bills. I mean, the Bills ended up making that wild card, which to me personally, when I looked at that year, they looked like a team that shouldn't have even belonged in there. But he did make a wild card spot. But as far as could he win a division knowing that you got Patrick Mahomes, or could you get that first round bye? Unfortunately, I don't think so, because you have to think of, so statistically, the one thing that's a big gamble for me with Tyrod is his completion percentage, because he sits there at about close to a subpar 60%. So, and this was even when they were talking about rumors about bringing in Cam. And I think I remembered you heard me say this, that if you bring in two guys with subpar 60% completions, you'll never know exactly who is the more efficient quarterback in that particular scenario.
I would not bring in Cam.
No,
like I think Tyrod can groom. I think Tyrod's a good leader, and he can groom the next quarterback. I think that was a really good pickup for the Chargers.
Yeah,
like better. He's probably a top 5 backup in the league, in my opinion. Tyrod is top 5, top 10, and yeah, I like him. I like him bringing it, like placeholding for another rookie. Yeah. Like that's a good spot for him. I think he should start at least 8 games. I really do.
Think of it this way: is like, let's go back to when Kansas City drafted Patrick Mahomes, because everybody all looked at it and said, why did the Chiefs take a quarterback at this point? Andy Reid, for years coaching, he was that close to winning a Super Bowl. But the problem of it was he didn't have a superstar quarterback that came into this league and just took the league by storm. The only closest he had was Donovan McNabb, and that was about it. But the second that they drafted Mahomes, and knowing that they still had Alex Smith was holding over that position, as you mentioned with like Tyrod Taylor, a guy that's a placeholder. So, because here's the thing you have to think of: if the Kansas City Chiefs were all about just winning, not winning championships or winning anything else, like if you were just to win a division, then they would have never drafted Patrick Mahomes. They would have stuck with Alex Smith and then just would have said, he's our quarterback. That's it. So this is kind of the same feel with Tyrod Taylor. Because look, Tyrod, like Alex Smith, placeholding that quarterback position, I see Tyrod either playing, up to 8 games. That's always been my theory when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. Give them half the season to figure out the playbook, then also build communication and relationships with your quarterbacks in that depth. And then when he's ready, he can then go and take the league by storm. We saw that with Patrick Mahomes. I know it was only 2 games, but come next season, he was clearly their starting quarterback.
And the crazy thing with Alex Smith is they went to back-to-back, like the Chiefs have been to more AFC title games, I think, than the Patriots have in the last 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. They've been to like 4. I think the Patriots have been to 3. So like, that's crazy. That's nuts. So like, Alex Smith took them to 2 and Patrick Mahomes took them to 2 and he won a Super Bowl. Like, Alex Smith was arguably not definitively, but arguably an MVP candidate. Like, he was top 5, but the thing that held him back obviously was that he threw like 80% of his passes to like running backs and tight ends, so
Yeah,
he couldn't even hit
exactly.
a receiver. It was like ridiculous how much he wouldn't hit a receiver.
Right.
But
And you
yes,
have to think of too, Alex Smith had been dealing with this twice in his career, where he in San Francisco, the second that because again, if San Francisco had not lost that game to the Giants, there would have been no talks about bringing in Colin Kaepernick. That would have literally been the talk. That would have been the article. The first title you see. Smith staying in San Fran.
it's true.
Keeping
He
San
would have
Fran.
finished.
Yeah, he would have
He probably
finished.
would have traded
So,
Kaepernick.
exactly. And so then bringing in Kaepernick, bringing something new and flashy and all this stuff, because that's all that us fans like. We love the new and the flashy and the one that's like interesting.
Well,
One
I think
that
Harbaugh thought he could control Kaepernick too, and he could
he
for a little while.
Yeah, he thought he could, but that's where Alex Smith, he got his job taken over by Colin Kaepernick, and then eventually got his job taken over by Patrick Mahomes, and then goes into Washington, which I do hope the very best and hope that he still has a little bit left in the tank to play. But even if he doesn't with that injury, that's tough. But Alex Smith understands, like much like Tyrod understands, so does Nick Foles, and even Jacoby Brissett understands. That's why I think it'll be interesting to watch the Colts to see how they play out. If Phillip Rivers wins a lot more games than Brissett has, then there's your point. There's your point about Jacoby Brissett. But that's kind of where I stand with Tyrod. I think that if you give him 8 games, groom up the next quarterback coming up, because I guarantee you that this offensive line finally for 30 years has been fixed.
Took a while.
And so exactly. So any quarterback that comes in from this draft that goes under center with the LA Chargers is going to be phenomenal. He's got weapons, he's got offensive line protection, and he's also got a defense that can back him up.
A lot of people don't remember how good LaDainian Tomlinson made that offensive line back in the 2000s. That's something LT was one of the greatest running backs of all time, and nobody can argue me on that. He was one of the greatest running. I don't care if he never won a Super Bowl. He was incredible. But the last, like, talking about quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks and potential replacements for Tyrod Taylor and Phillip Rivers, the last question I had for you about the Chargers was, how would you rank the rookie QBs? So, like, you're the Chargers GM, right? Mm-hmm. You want this quarterback, or if you can't get this quarterback, you get this quarterback. Give me your rankings for those guys.
So, out of all the quarterbacks, I think
just a couple.
Yeah,
I mean, you can do as many as you want, honestly. I don't care.
Well, honestly, like, let me give you my top 5 then. So my top 5 quarterbacks in this draft, clearly everybody looks at Joe Burrow as the number 1, but here's the thing. Joe Burrow is a type of quarterback that he's very, very patient in that pocket. Anybody that pays attention to LSU and how that they got undefeated and how that they were so efficient, especially with Justin Jefferson and company, he had an offensive line that was giving him enough time in the pocket for him to be steady, calm, and make good efficient throws. So to me, I kind of look at Joe Burrow as a number 2. My number 1 would be Tua Tagovailoa. Tua was the kind of kid that comes in when Jalen Hurts, when nothing was going right for him in that game against Georgia. Tua comes in, and he's a young kid that he got Alabama back to where they needed to be. Even though, yes, we do know about the legendary coaching of Nick Saban, but aside from that, he became such an explosive presence for the Alabama Crimson Tide the second he came in under center after, Jalen Hurts having a lot of inconsistencies at the end of that game. They needed something. And Tua, I believe, does bring a presence and a juice into an organization. And, of course, everybody's question is he healthy? Or can he actually boost a team up? Because a lot of speculations with Bengals, the Dolphins, but I think the Chargers, because they finally fixed the offensive line, that's now going to give I think now that's going to build trust. and confidence for Tua to come in. So I have Tua at 1, Joe Burrow at 2, and then Justin Herbert at 3. I mean, Justin Herbert's the kind of guy that you've seen his arm strength in the combine, and I know we didn't really kind of see a lot of his throws, but if you look at last season and some of his efficient throws that he had at Oregon, I thought they were very, very accurate. So people that think like, because there have been speculations thinking he's a mid-range passer. I don't think so. Justin Herbert's the kind of guy that if you give him a deep route wide receiver, he's going to sling the ball. He's going to sling the ball at times. And he's also another one that can open up the pocket. He's mobile, and he can actually create space to throw to some of his wide receivers or his tight ends. So Justin Herbert's the kind of guy that's an interesting game changer. Now the question of it is, will he be will he be like very much invested into the idea with this organization? I think it's a possibility, but I think that if in fact, because I did say that this could be a secondary pick if Tua was to be taken early, about getting possibly Joe Burrow, or Justin Herbert. So number 4 would be Jordan Love. Jordan Love has absolute raw talent. Anybody in the live comments, if you don't believe me, go and watch Jordan Love's junior year highlights at Utah State. And you can't tell me that his play style is not NFL ready, because I believe it is. People have questions of, well, his senior year was not great. I said, but here's the thing. Utah State changed coaches. Okay, the coach that he had junior year was comfortable for Jordan Love to now be efficient like he was that year. I mean, close to almost being considerably a Heisman watch, if you ask me. Like the second I saw his play style, I was just like, oh my God, this kid can throw. This kid is, he's very efficient when it comes to situational play. So he knows how to take control. Then finally, number 5, this is kind of tough for me, but I'm going to have to go with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts to me is a number. So here's the thing, because I know a lot of people have honorable mentions about Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason. First of all, Jacob Eason's got a very nice, accurate rocket arm. But here's where we kind of get the comp with it. Aaron Rodgers, raw, but needed a lot of adjustments in his game. Okay, he does have that rocket slinging arm. But Eason, if you saw his highlights in Washington, he had some situations where he threw a lot of picks. And that's where it's like, look, you can't always be risky on your throws. You got to be efficient as well. Get first downs. And so for Jalen Hurts, because here's what's interesting about him. Being both mobile, also being able to throw the ball. I don't want to compare him to a potential Cam Newton because again, I think Jalen Hurts may be more efficient than Cam Newton will be, but he does bring some interesting presence. And I think he's a guy that if a team doesn't have a capable running back in the rushing game, Jalen Hurts is definitely the guy that you would want under center to be multitasking, a very good passer and being somebody that's going to run for first downs.
The only problem with that, I would say, is he's only 6'1". Tua may be injury prone, but he kind of has like an Andrew Luck quality to him. Would you kind of? That's what I've heard a lot of. Actually, he's only 6'2". Holy crap! Wow, Tua's not even that big either. He's not very big actually. He's 6'1", 6'2". That's two different reports. Who knows? Big hand size. I don't know. I mean, this is a tough class because there's no definitive one. You know what I mean? There's no definitive, like, this is the 100% one. Everyone's saying Joe Burrow, but like you said, he has his flaws, just like everyone else does. Karam says, I watched Jalen Hurts a lot this past season. What did you think, Karam? I want to know about that. But, yeah, I mean, that's you pretty much, you knocked it out of the park. You answered pretty much all my Chargers questions. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to revisit this after the draft, like after the Chargers really know who they're getting.
Right, and you have to think of too, because look, I don't think the Chargers will, because I'd seen a couple of some pages like that are big time sports pages, and they're doing like some of these mocks of seasons, and like just by the strengths of next season and how they're going to play out. We don't know that yet until the draft is over. But I've been seeing a lot
So
about
true.
the Chargers potentially, you know, tanking, which I don't think that's going to happen, because the second the Chargers tank, now you're going to lose both Bosa and Keenan Allen, because they'll be like, okay, this team's obviously hasn't figured it out. Then it becomes a coaching issue, and so on and so forth. But if you had to think about it, because you do have the quarterback class for this year, but then think of the quarterback class for next year: Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Like this era of the NFL is changing. We no longer we no longer have Peyton. We no longer have Favre. Some point soon, we're no longer going to have Tom. So this
Tom and
league,
Drew, yeah.
yeah. So this league is going to get faster, younger, and I think more efficient. And even on the defensive side, they're getting stronger. They're figuring out offensive lines very, very quickly. But that's where I think all these mobile, efficient quarterbacks now have become the big trend. Probably since Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and a little bit of Josh Allen, and so many other quarterbacks out there. But you have to think of me personally. How do you think Michael Vick would feel knowing that this is now happening at this time in,
Well,
the,
yeah,
in this era?
his offense that he went to a Super Bowl with was not catered towards him. And then
No,
he
it
had the
was
best season of his career with Andy Reid with an offense that was catered towards him. Imagine if he spent his entire career with an offense catered towards him. That's why when people say, "Oh, Lamar Jackson, he's just like every other running quarterback," I'm like, well, I mean, what's his name? Steve Young won a Super Bowl. You know, he
yeah.
competed for a bunch of Super Bowls. So like, you can run and you can win. That's a thing. But I guess that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with. He said Jake looks like BKB. I don't remember what BKB looks like. I haven't done a collab with BKB, but
BKB.
I text him though. He's cool. All right, I text him on Discord rather. So I wanted to talk about one of the probably the most clickbaity thumbnail, and we just learned about this. We just learned about this. This is breaking news. Mm-hmm. Adam Silver speaks on the sports league's role in restarting the economy on the conference call with President Trump. So Adam Silver and a bunch of other sports leagues executives went into a conference call with the president, and this is basically what happened. The NBA, it says NBA Commissioner Adam Silver told those on Donald Trump's conference call that with the sports leagues that were first shut down. Okay, that's a long description. That they would love to lead the way in starting the economy once there's an all clear from the public health officials. So basically, Adam Silver's saying that we hold some responsibility in maintaining enthusiasm with the economy. Basically, he's taking responsibility for what his league is, the impact of the league on the world, basically, because the NBA is a global sport. It's a global league. It's very big. Right. It's not just an American league. So if the NBA goes back to normal, hopefully the country and the world will eventually go back to normal. That is what Adam Silver is telling Donald Trump, and I'm sure Donald Trump's happy to hear it. But there's a lot of speculation on when that would happen. What was your thoughts when you first heard this news?
You know what? When because like I said, I told you before the show, this popped up on my phone the second it came up, and I think it's interesting. When I look at some of these commissioners, the top two that have really done a very efficient job personally is Adam Silver and Roger Goodell. Both these commissioners in these leagues. Sorry about that. Adam Silver's the type of guy that like he's very player friendly. He looks out for a lot of the players that play in this league, especially guys like LeBron, Kawhi with his load management, and so on and so forth. He's the type of guy that I don't want to call him like the big time promoter, because the big time promoter, I will tell you, would be like Dana White. Like he's the guy that will promote that, and find ways to sell you to kind of sell you in that idea. So for me, Adam Silver, I think this is interesting, and you're right, because NBA is such a global sport. We've seen just what happened with China. Okay, and China getting hit with the coronavirus. And so many other, like even Euro leagues. A lot of these Euro leagues, they had to force themselves to cancel in order to get themselves back on track and eventually, come back to some type of normalcy in the end. So I think that this is interesting, because here's the thing. The guys, the people really that are crying for help to get this economy back up and rolling are me being here from Vegas. You've got the bet lines right now that are crying for help, that want to get started back up because they need something.
Oh yeah, gambling. Bobby was talking about that too. Yeah, gambling is suffering heavily.
Yeah, gambling is absolutely suffering. I'm telling you, look, even though that the lights are on down in the Strip, it is such a ghost town there, because I was always used to seeing these big time Vegas sport bet guys that come in there, make the big bets, whether it's fights or whether it's other sporting events. It was exciting because it ended up kind of booming the town and getting themselves back into it. So I think Adam Silver does make an interesting point, because where would the world be without sports? Because sports has absolutely gave us sanity, and it has given us something to kind of distract us truthfully with all of the serious matters that are happening outside of us. And
I agree with you, and I think that Adam Silver is a really good commissioner for taking taking the public reign. That probably takes a little bit of pressure off of the administration. Like, people are going to be like, okay, well, they are going to do something, because that's the thing. It's all about public perception. And I'm sure Adam Silver is open to working with other leagues on. See, Adam Silver, I agree with you, Karama. I think he's better than Roger Goodell. I don't mind Roger Goodell. I do think he's made some missteps, but I won't say he's a bad commissioner. I'll say he's average. He's pretty good.
Here's what's funny, because we're not. Yeah, well, here's what's funny about that is because look, we're not even trying to compare commissioners in this league. You know who the people that have taken a step back? Rob Manfred for baseball.
Yep.
And
I was actually about to say he's probably the only one I would criticize lately. I think everyone else is decent.
Yeah, me being a diehard baseball fan, I'm absolutely upset and pissed off with him, because he
never evolved.
No. And look, Bud Selig did such a fantastic job, and you have to think of the time Bud Selig was in office. For instance,
baseball was huge.
Yeah, look at for instance when 9/11 happened. Okay, 9/11 shook the world, but then eventually, by famous words from Mayor Giuliani in New York, said, "I'm going to go to a Met game." Who on earth would say they would go to a baseball game?
Sports helped bring the country back to normalcy, like you said.
It did. It brought us back to normalcy, and then
that's what it does.
And me, as a firm believer as well, like, we should never be living our lives in fear. Just because things are happening outside does not mean that it's there to scare us, and then we can't go outside and live some sort of normal life. So I think Adam Silver and Roger Goodell, here's what I can say about the two. Adam Silver, and I think what'll be interesting too, and don't be surprised that if he adds Mark Cuban into this conversation, because we've been hearing a lot about Mark Cuban and financials, the economy. He's been speaking out lately, even to some of the political shows. He's been on phone calls. He's been trying to figure out, he's not a doctor. Neither is he really the kind of guy that will know how to solve a problem, but he is somebody that thinks outside the box when it comes to financials. So I think with him and potentially with Adam Silver, they'll make this work. But Roger Goodell, what he's done well is that the NFL is still going on schedule. For instance, this draft, even though I will say it sucks we won't have it in Vegas, but being in a remote area that provides the safety of the players, look at what happened with college hoops. Those kids in their senior years couldn't showcase their games.
Yeah,
they couldn't showcase their skills.
Sucks.
Yeah, and so for the NFL, these college players already played their season, and the bowl games are already done. So not having a draft is kind of is one that I think is going to be controversial. But as they've said, the show's got to go on, and I think it's smart and it provides safety for the players and staffs. So that's the way that I kind of think about it with these two commissioners.
No, I'm with you. I think that it provides safety. I think that it's a step forward into, because here's the thing, we definitely don't want, the last thing we want, the absolute last thing that we want is, and Mark Cuban talked about this, is no playoffs. That's the last thing. That's like, if we have to get rid of the playoffs, NHL and NBA, that would be just devastating. And obviously, I'm sure that the not just Trump, but a bunch of other people in the government, governors, they want sports back. They want to do it as fast as possible, because as soon as sports gets back, everything else will get back. The faith in the economy will come back. Everything will come back. Sports is pretty much like, when you take sports away, shit's bad. It's a problem. So, hey, what's up, Landon? Welcome. Ladies. Landon Markham is in the building. We got about 15 minutes left in this episode of JD Rants, episode 6, with my guy, Jake the Snake from Sports Talk Show. Check out his channel in the description below. He said, I got news last night about the NBA. Well, we just got news a couple hours ago that, Adam Silver's going to work with Donald Trump to help restart the economy whenever we possibly can, because that's the key phrase. We don't know when we can. We just know that we don't want to lose the playoffs. Like, I made a whole half episode about this. Like, that's the last possible scenario that we.
And I think I remembered, I told you real quick just before we move on is, I remember telling you about, the potential NBA season and when it should start. I really do think NBA should start at Christmas time. I think that they should go back to that, because if you think of the two most watched sports on television, it's usually the NFL and NBA. Because look, nobody's going to watch NHL as much unless you got showcase games, and then we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it's the same with baseball, because baseball, unfortunately, doesn't have